hours late because court went so long. Did you start the show before I even went and got my stick? You bastard!
Oh, I thought you got your cigarette.
Yes,
Professionalism,
because I the microphone outside my home.
We active now.
Oh wait, the show's on.
Just now.
Paying attention.
Just now.
I literally just started it.
To radši asi ne.
Třeba rukou bys mi to neudělal?
Jak jako rukou?
No, vem si, že je to třeba, já nevím, láhev od kečupu a ty se snažíš ten zbytek dostat ven.
Kečup?
No.
No... OK.
Nezapomenutelné momenty.
I mean,
I saw that coming a mile away.
I actually had a more horrifying thought involving getting a butter knife out and sticking it inside.
I didn't find this. I didn't find that video from Poe. It's okay.
Good times, good times.
So, welcome to the Church of Failure. I fucked up this week and didn't realize it was Memorial Day weekend and had no time to actually get the show planned like I was supposed to. So we may or may not have a guest. If not, me and Larry have some content to make Rune absurdly angry.
You also have 3.5 hours you owe me back.
Well, I got some content as well, as Larry knows, about WotC, but we can get to that later. I just want to say though that clip, Ayrton, is extra special to me because it's
That's how you got your first hand job.
No, it's close to the end of the month, and basically,
so you're giving yourself that same hand job.
No,
you're getting your monthly hand job.
When I have to, when you are on food stamps and you ain't got a lot of a choice, you basically have what you have. So for the last couple of days, it's been well, not that bad. They've been actual hamburgers, but the point still is like, no, I have abused a bottle of ketchup more times this week than I care to think about.
Oh, the fact that you can get more ketchup out of a bottle of ketchup if you put a little water in it and stir it up.
That's how you. That's also how you get more Robitussin out of a bottle of Robitussin.
But do you get more? But do you get more ejaculate if you put water on it?
Actually, technically, yes. The more hydrated you are, the more you will come.
I mean, this is true.
Well,
but
no. Joe was talking about an entirely different way of getting more water to that situation.
Well, because it's actually a funny thing. I've talked to women. I know that's scary, Ayrton, but sometimes they have things to say. And one of the things I find funny is that people who watch a lot of porn think that shower sex is great.
Oh, no, it's awful. So is hot tub sex. Hot tub sex is literally the worst thing ever.
It's not just awful because you're like a couple of fish slithering around, but because water is a terrible lubricant.
Yeah.
Water is the worst lubricant.
That's what the shampoo's for.
Well, and in a hot tub, it's so fucking hot. You start getting heat stroke after like 12 pumps, and you're like passing out trying to stay conscious
12,
while you're
12
deep in
strokes,
some
and then
bitch.
you have a stroke.
Yeah. No, it's fucking awful. It's the dumbest thing I've ever seen. Fucking hot tub sex. Get the fuck out of here.
Mature conversation from
you've been promoted, Ayrton, Rune, you've been demoted.
That sounds about right.
All right.
I'm sorry.
And in relation to that image we just saw, Ayrton says, "Why wasn't this a Mad Lad?"
Oh, am I bringing that up? All right, hold on.
Bring that Wikipedia page up.
I mean, we got to start with the subject at some point. Otherwise, it's just going to turn into sex jokes and.
It is. I mean, hold on. I have to look up. I have to look up how to spell this in Mexican again. Give me a sec.
You spell it the same way as you do in English. It just has a little.
I've been pacing my drinking because I thought we had a guest. I hate you so much right now, Ayrton. I could be shit faced right now.
Okay, I said this is my bad. I didn't realize what week it was, and that I worked.
Well, I could have
at a
slept through this
campground.
show at this rate.
I mean, to certain Americans, you spell it in Mexican the same way you spell it in Spanish. You just add an X to the end.
Yeah. Okay. Here we go. Go ahead, Larry.
Be policeman
Say
in
the
rural
words.
Mexican little boy says
yes.
there are vampires in the next village over. You escort the boy home to make sure he gets home safe. There are vampires in the next village over. And it turns out this is an actual real thing that happened in Mexico in 1963. In fact, if you look down, Matt Krotz has an image of this fine vampire lady. That is of course not what you consider a vampire lady.
What are you talking about? This is the Wikipedia page.
Oh, I mean, they're talking about the original Twitter post.
Oh, you didn't tell me to pull up the Twitter post. I pulled up the Wikipedia page.
Well, that's fine. That's fine.
I mean, we're gonna talk about both anyway, so it's all good.
Yeah.
You know,
Fair.
apparently there
And,
were witches that would threaten to steal your penis
You mean
That's a
and
major
put it
thing
in
in
a cage
Africa,
and feed
sir.
it birdseed.
Can
No,
we,
that's a major
not
thing
talk
in
about my
Africa.
ex-wife?
No, that's a major thing in Africa, Church.
Look, some vampires are mutants and they hide their fangs in their vagina. This is well known.
So let me
Well, no,
let me read this.
well,
let me read this Wikipedia
hold on,
page. Now, though,
Before we get deep into this, I just want to point out the reason I know there were penis stealing witches is my my IRL best friend was talking about writing a book about this because it's what he did his college dissertation on. And I said, you should, but you should write it as a trashy romance novel because that's what sells.
well, that's nothing. In Africa, they think the witches can steal your penis using text messaging.
They can. They can. They get it in the phone and then they ruin your life with it.
Yeah.
But
That's what dick pics are. Come on.
Magdalena Solis, aka the High Priestess of Blood, was a Mexican serial killer and cult leader, responsible for orchestrating several murders which involved the drinking of victims' blood. The murders were committed in Yerba Buena, San Luis Potosi, during the early 1960s. Solis was convicted of 2 murders and was sentenced to 50 years in prison. Authorities described 8 murders and suspected she was involved in as many as 15. She's regarded as one of the few documented instances of sexually motivated female serial killers, showing organized, visionary, and hedonistic characteristics.
All right. Is anybody else dick hard right now, or at least have a
In
semi?
early 62 or 63, brothers and petty scammers Santos and Chianto Hernandez devised a ploy to help them acquire wealth quick. They traveled to an isolated community of Yerba Buena, an impoverished and mostly illiterate village of about 50 inhabitants, to whom they proclaimed themselves as prophets and high priests of the powerful and exiled Inca gods. They proclaimed that the Inca gods, in exchange for their worship and tributes, would grant them hidden treasures in caves in the mountains surrounding the town, a place where they are known to perform their rites, and that they would come to claim authority over their ancient kingdom and punish the non-believers. Despite the brothers' ignorance of both Incan mythology and pre-Hispanic history, which shows the Incas inhabited Peru, not Mexico, I mean, that's probably fake news, they managed to convince the inhabitants of Yerba Buena of their absurdities. So Hernandez founded a relatively large sect demanding economic.
It's actually possible that parts of the Inca Empire they may have had outposts as far north as Mexico, but they didn't have like a real hold as far as their empire goes.
It's
that
also
far
entirely
north.
possible that local farmers don't give a shit about that kind of ancient history and just don't.
Yeah. The
So-
Hernandez founded a relatively large sect demanding economic and sexual tributes from adult members, both male and female, ingesting drugs during orgies and even selling some of their subordinates into sexual slavery. The cult
All right, guys,
was run
I'll be
without
right back.
issues for some time. But at one point, the believers began to grow skeptical when the high priest failed to have their promises fulfilled. To remedy this, the Hernandez went to Monterrey in search of prostitutes who wanted in on their farce, eventually coming into contact with Magdalena and her brother, who agreed to participate in a later ritual. Solis was presented as the reincarnation of the goddess Coatlicue through a flashy smoke.
Okay, that was pretty good.
Which convinced the sex followers of her authenticity. Perhaps to the two brothers' detriment, Solis eventually came to believe She was truly a reincarnated goddess and took command over the entire cult.
Look, it always stops working when you start believing your own press. Okay.
And yeah. And she was arrested in 1963. She was convicted. In subsequent investigation, the dismembered corpses of Sebastian Guerrero and Luis Martinez were found near the farm where Solis and his siblings were residing.
But let's address something real quick, okay? Because this is my favorite line in the entire Wikipedia entry. Okay.
The popular culture reference about a Belgian rock band named after her?
No, although that's also great. So, one night in May 1963, a 14-year-old local boy, Sebastian Guerrero, was wandering around the caves while the sect was performing their rites. Drawn by the lights and noises coming from one of the caves, he went to investigate. To his horror, he watches the cult was in the process of killing yet another victim. Terrified, he ran more than 25 kilometers to the town of Villa Grande, where the nearest police station was located. Exhausted and in a state of shock, Guerrero failed to give any other description than seeing a group of murderers seized by ecstasy gathered to drink human blood. His claims were met with ridicule by the officers, who took them as the delusions of a mentally ill or drugged boy. On the following morning, one investigator, Luis Martinez, offered to an escort home for Guerrero, as well as to check where he had seen the vampires. After their departure, Martinez never returned to work. So, I want to be clear. The phrase is never returned to work, not was viciously murdered.
Well, no, I mean, that's where that is in the timeline of the story. But, yeah. But, I mean, if we're making this into a movie, it's obviously a story, like, you know, you have, like, what's-his-face, Pedro Pascal, going to the little Mexican boy, like, going, I mean, come on. Vampires aren't real, kid. I'm just going to take you
okay.
to
Let's pick a different actor because I'm sick of seeing Pedro Pascal as a father figure.
No.
Well, hold on. They'll put a helmet on him. It won't be him for the majority of the series.
Guys, you have to parse this correctly. It's not that Pedro Pascal's a problem. You make this Pedro Pascal's breakout film where he does a bad guy to show he's capable of doing a bad guy that isn't a laughing idiot like Max Power. So we
already had that. His name was Oberyn Martell.
Hold up.
Oberyn Martell was not a bad guy.
Yes, he was.
Hold up. Max Power wasn't the bad guy in that movie.
Rune, there are no good guys in Game of Thrones. I want you to understand that.
No, there are good guys in Game of Thrones, but the writing is terrible.
In Wonder Woman 84, Max Power wasn't even the bad guy.
Wait. Rune said there are good guys in Game of Thrones, just the lighting's terrible. So are you saying the good guys are white in Game of Thrones? You just can't tell that they're white because the lighting sucks?
No, not the lighting, the writing, Ayrton.
Oh, the writing.
Fix your hearing aid, man.
But yeah.
No.
So
look, my point is though, right? Is like if you guys ever seen the movie California?
No.
Okay, it's a smaller budget film with David Duchovny, right? In which David Duchovny and a serial killer travel cross country to basically write a book. Okay? The thing is that said serial killer is Brad Pitt. And this was at the high point of Brad Pitt's career. This was post Interview with a Vampire Brad Pitt. Nobody knew Brad Pitt was in this movie, and it's fucking amazing because he does not half-ass it. It is clearly a work he did because he wanted to do it. I'm saying you take Pedro Pascal, who keeps getting these shitty, family-friendly, mainstream superhero flicks and shitty sci-fis, and be like, Pedro, we want you to be one of these brothers who murdered a bunch of people, and we want you to chew the fucking scenery with evil. And he would love it. He would go all in.
No. What you need to do is make this an Americanized version of one of those bloody Mexican exploitation movies.
Okay,
Pedro
so
Pascal just shoots up a whole cult full of vampire people.
Well, wait a minute. Does that mean that is it going to be Quentin or is it going to be Rob Zombie?
Well, Robert Rodriguez is still an option that's available.
There you go. Okay, I could go with that. I could go with Robert Rodriguez does a Mexican exploitation joint with Pedro Pascal.
murdering a bunch of vampire people. It'd be great. It'd be great.
I actually, because of how Hollywood works, we could actually retool this and actually sell it if we suggested that it was a Dead by Dawn sequel. Or Dusk Till Dawn sequel, rather.
What if we just make Martinez the cop? Was that the name? Hold on, where'd it go?
That was the name.
Yeah, Martinez. We'll just make Martinez a black trans woman, and Disney will pick it up.
Well, no. The trans woman is the one who's the vampire cultist.
No, because they can't be the bad guy.
I'm flipping between screens here, and I happened upon Twitter. And Justin Wang 7 minutes ago posted out a movie called Hooker's Revenge. The tagline is, all she wanted was love, but all she got was the shaft.
Nice.
Damn right.
The thing is, as much as we can make jokes, if we're actually being serious about this horror movie for just a second, the obvious context is...
Because this would be a stupidly easy horror movie to make.
Well, the things you do, you use the Martinez story, right? But it's a downer ending. Okay, you absolutely take the downer ending. Okay, so it's The Hills Have Eyes in Mexico. Okay, this cop and this kid are going to fight for an hour and a half to survive, and then they're going to die horribly off screen.
Then they're going to get ripped up like Orpheus in
you could make it kind of like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but in Mexico.
I mean, again, the movie basically writes itself. And you don't even need a really big budget to do this movie.
You don't.
In fact,
you just need a lot of corn syrup.
If you make the effect really polar bear. Cheesy, if you make the effect really cheesy, it's going to work really well.
What the fuck, Church?
You need Polly the polar bear.
Why?
I don't think he knows about Polly.
Okay, so Matt Jarbo used to be an edgy YouTube content creator. Then he became
Shall I find
a
the
radical...
video?
No. Hold up. So then he became a radical centrist commentator. Then he became a post-centrist commentator. During his radical edgy phase, he had a character called Polly the polar bear, who he showed as a toy for his daughter. And Polly the polar bear said racial
he was a racist Sesame Street character, basically. And that day's letter was in. For Basketball American.
The bear did in fact say the game over.
February American, I believe is the proper term. Oh shit! Did I find it?
Jim
I think I found it.
American.
I mean, another popular euphemism is jogger.
Canadian in the restaurant industry.
Yeah. But so the thing about this movie is
shit. I found it.
Luckily,
the polar bear video.
So you could play it. You could totally play that on Rumble. Rumble will be fine with it.
I just
can't believe I found it.
Larry, I'm gonna propose something because we got to keep this in mind. We're gonna have a filmmaker on at some point. We should sell this to BC-14. I
mean, I'm not entirely sure something this.
Wait, Polly versus the Illuminati. I'm in for it.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I actually have. I've actually looked at
the links.
Here's the thing. Trying to catch up on product to be ready for show. I have actually seen his filmography on Tubi. A couple of his films are not joke films. A couple of his films are serious.
No, I know.
What I want to know really, and this is a question that I've been holding for when he comes on, is I want to know how the animation was created. Because it looked like it was almost like the Unreal Engine.
It is the Unreal Engine.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. I should have recognized that. I'm working in Unreal.
All right, go ahead, Eric.
There you go, Rune.
Also, don't forget to put the "It's Racism Time" banner.
Yeah, for educational purposes only. We do not.
It's been too long since we had.
We do not convert.
Time.
Okay, there we go.
We do not agree with Matt Jarbo.
I'm here to tell you a random word of the day. My word today is nigger. That's right, folks. I'm going to tell you about the word. Now, these people
I knew it, and I'm still disappointed.
Dictionary.com are lazy, black, ignorant people.
All right.
Again, we do not agree with Polly the polar bear. And
No,
Matt
no,
Jarbo
this was for
also, pre his edgy phase, has a even more edgy in real life, which involves him dating a stripper and then losing the stripper to her other boyfriend, who's her meth
and
dealer.
something about impregnating a 15-year-old.
yeah, and holding
Allegedly.
her at knife point for
Yep.
kisses.
Now that's what
You
the
know,
15-year-old
was
accused
this-
him of.
Was this as part of a cult, perhaps of a group of vampires?
I mean,
No,
it should
no,
Oh,
this
possibly.
was, this was
Should
just
be.
what he's like on Oxygen, apparently.
But yeah,
And I can say
so-
that because he blocked me on Twitter. You fat
But he,
piece of
he's
shit.
come around. He has
Look,
come
look.
around. He helped with Jim talking to his poor son, the Rage Pig, trying to explain to him the facts of life.
Look, I'm gonna propose something interesting. You can say any number of alleged accusations, and you can't be held accountable if the person in question has blocked you. So you cannot, in fact, ask them for verification.
I too am blocked. I just want to say.
I'm just saying, it's like, how can we know we're wrong? They blocked us. Obviously, we're just ignorant, not mean-spirited.
Now I have to see if I am blocked. I, however, may be blocked by Matt Jarbo for other unrelated drama.
I am 100% certain that I am not blocked, because I do not know
I
this
bet you
person.
are.
Have
I am
never
also not
Guarantee you
blocked.
are. Really?
I am also not blocked.
Because I
Now-
got blocked by him. I think from a block bot. Because I never really said anything to him on Twitter, unlike Ralph.
I was previously blocked when he fell out with the guys on Midnight's Edge because he was trying to do his radical centrist gimmick.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. We're talking about somebody who got kicked out by Midnight's Edge? Those guys are pretty fucking mellow.
No. He left because he was accusing Midnight's Edge of being too edgy.
Midnight's Edge.
Yes.
Yes.
The fact-based movie commentators.
Yes.
Yes.
So mistakes
that's
were
how.
made.
That's how like stale heel end white bread with expired peanut butter sandwich. This guy is.
Matt Jarbo was
Also, I
trying to
wanna-
play the middle. He was trying to
I
play the
wanna
middle
point
both
out-
into the algorithm.
That
Yes,
5
sure.
years ago, that video that we just watched ended Matt Jarbo's YouTube career.
Matt Jarbo's YouTube went on fire.
Yep.
But he
Well, I
has
mean,
since come
there
back
was
to
more to it than
podcasts,
that, but
And
Well, yeah, but the catalyst was that video surfacing from 6 years prior to that.
also, you know, wait a minute, Matt, no.
Wait a minute, Matt, no! Matt, no!
Back when Ethan Ralph was relatively sober.
No, he wasn't relatively sober. Back when Zidane and Gator carried that gun.
I mean, yes, but I think he was doing less drugs then. I think his drug and alcohol use has been escalating.
Of course
alcohol,
they
no,
have. They
drugs,
do.
yes.
No, he's drinking more booze.
Really?
Not in the last 30 days, according to him.
I mean, I'm going to press X. You know, Ayrton, if you want to pull up the William Frakes clip, that would be my opinion on that.
Wait, what am I pulling up?
The William Frakes clip where he says false, it's fiction, we made it all up.
Oh,
I don't
Jonathan
have
Frakes.
that. I don't have that one.
Jonathan Franks, yeah.
Jonathan Frakes, yeah.
I don't have that one loaded.
That
I'll
should
get
be
it
one
loaded.
you queue up.
Says
I'll
the
find it
nerd
for
in
you
the
and
room.
send it to you.
Look,
I do
man,
have.
I had a bad day where things died in the walls at work, and I had to deal with the smell, and I've been lightheaded all day.
I do have a
What?
video of how Church moderates his alcohol and caloric intake during the week.
mean, I have seen Church personally, but clearly he's a large Asian man.
That is exactly how I do it. Yes, I'm doing it right now.
Yeah, it's
but
everything in balance, Rune. That's
everything in balance, like it should be. So, speaking of things that are in balance, Marvel Comics has decided to.
You're making me pull up a Screen Rant article.
Marvel Comics has decided that Magneto was actually right all along when he wanted humans to go into camps. But then he
because
wasn't
that's
right.
not Hitlerish at all.
Yep.
Or
the
Stalin.
legendary X-Men villain turned hero is the star of an upcoming miniseries that will explore his first foray into heroism as the headmaster of Xavier's School.
His first, ladies and gentlemen, because Magneto has never done this before.
Well, no. This is the first mini series because before it was done on a full series.
I know.
Back when full series mattered.
I understand what's actually going on. I just still cannot stand the language. We've never done this before, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, I mean, this language comes directly from Marvel PR. So, acknowledging.
Wait.
Translate as people who don't read fucking comics.
Well, no. Marvel PR is deliberately focused on creating rage bait clicks because that's their only way to move sales figures.
Well, it's fucking working.
So what was that you were about to say? Wait on Ayrton.
Oh, Magneto has been the headmaster of Xavier's School before.
He was. Not only that, it was within a year of Church's favorite comic book miniseries, Secret Wars.
Oh, that's why I wasn't reading comics.
So here's
he wasn't born then, Larry.
Here's the thing, because this is really important. At least in my opinion. Magneto had been Magneto. Magneto had lost his memory and been rebranded as Joseph.
No, this was before that.
No, let me finish. Magneto got his memory back. Okay. Okay. And became a headmaster at the school for a time, for like the second time. Okay. And then, very loudly, very publicly, was re-released as a villain, returning to form.
Then it turns out that villain was actually a secret swerve villain.
Yeah, that was actually Zorn. We swear it wasn't Magneto, guys. Right. But and again, that's not the first time he's done this. I want to say he's been headmaster at least once. But they actually addressed in storyline, even in storylines I don't care about, they actually addressed the level of betrayal the X-Men felt that he had been their teacher and learned their personalities and weaknesses before this attack. Which is part of the reason why subsequent stories, such as, oh look, Magneto is now the embassy to humanity while we're all drug dealers, makes no fucking sense. Because all these characters know Magneto can't be trusted and is a piece of shit.
Well, no. It makes perfect sense, Rune, because they're all plant clones.
Right, they're all plant people. They're not real. But I'm just saying, it's still bullshit.
Once you accept that. But no.
I will never accept that.
During Secret Wars, if you remember, because I'm sure you remember, because I'm sure Church made you read the entire run of Secret Wars.
Not me.
We actually never got around to that.
No, I've never made anyone read that book. I want them all to read it on their own and enjoy it as it is.
I mean, I'm not going to, but okay.
So during the entire run of Secret Wars, Magneto was playing both sides. He wasn't being a hero or a villain because they were teasing out the fact in the next year there's going to be The Trial of Magneto, which was an excellent run in Chris Claremont's X-Men.
Brief interjection. Okay. All of the mutants were playing on the mutant side. They weren't fighting for the good guys whole cloth. They splintered off into the mutant side and joined forces with the X-Men. Joined forces with Magneto.
Yeah, but also Magneto had allegiances with the villains, but he was saying like, "Listen, man, I'm doing my own thing here," and the X-Men were helping the heroes more than they were helping mutant kind.
Before we dig into the specifics of plots, I got to ask a question. This is a serious question. This may, in fact, be a Church minute, because I'm sure Papa Church will have a thing about this. Why is it when creators are actually harnessing the opinions and beliefs of the fan base that they take the worst and hottest takes.
Well,
Because let me
hold
explain this. Let me explain my question.
Okay.
So there is this perception, okay, that the X-Men as a comics brand is really its own sphere that doesn't fit into the rest of the Marvel universe, and that the best answer is to make X things about X-Men things and just pretend the rest of the Marvel verse doesn't exist. And I understand it. I understand the perspective. Okay? But the secret of the X-Men that people should be focusing on is not their isolation or iconoclasm or separation from the rest of the Marvelverse, right? But that X-Men, or more accurately mutants, are an ethnicity. For all of their powers, there's actually nothing special about them. Mutants are everywhere, right? So when you say, well, why don't superheroes weigh in? It's like, well, because superheroes like the Avengers can't really
They did weigh in.
way. Well, no, I'm saying
they did weigh in.
Hold on, Larry. Hold on.
They can't
I'm gonna cut you off because your premise is false.
Okay.
Because you can't say that the entire group, there's nothing special about them, because you have people weighing from Phoenix all the way to Toad. Now, if you're going to tell me that Toad is on the same level as Phoenix when it comes to character development and power level, then you're wrong.
Yeah, but you're talking about external mechanics. What I'm talking about is that if you go up to Captain America, you say, Captain America, are gays good? Right? Captain America is going to say,
not a chance. Not this time. It never happened. It never happened. We made this one up. It's fiction.
Oh, it took you long enough.
Thank you. That was beautiful. That was beautiful.
I'm just saying, if you have a guy go up to Captain America and say, "Are gays good?" Captain America will say, "Well, some of them certainly," but he's not going to say all of them because they're a people, right? If you then go up to Captain America and say, "Are mutants good?" Right? He's not going to say all,
the same thing,
because obviously there are evil mutants, right?
Sure.
So when people say, "Well, why don't superheroes weigh in to protect and aid the X-Men?" who are ostensibly criminals fighting for the well-being of the mutant community, right? It's because, well, if we weigh in to help one group, people are going to say, why didn't you weigh in to help all groups? It's not something we can do.
Well, hold up, Rune. They did back when comic books were written by people who actually cared about their craft.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
your
but
point is off base.
But we're also talking about a era in time when people wrote comics about how mutants are actually the victims of a alien virus that makes people both hate and fear them on a genetic level. So
no, that was one person who that later got retconned because everybody agreed that was stupid.
It was stupid.
And it wasn't mutants. Non-mutants had the alien virus, and the alien virus made humans hate the mutants.
Right, but like
and
Captain America's a human, so
well, no. Captain America didn't have that virus because of the super soldier serum.
And I also want to point out that
Stark
this is
has the virus.
He did.
I also no, he doesn't, because when it was introduced to him, he was wearing the Iron Man armor, and that sealed him off from having it because it's literal plot armor. I'm joking. I'm joking.
Yeah.
But no, we're discussing this like it's a philosophical debate in a realm where an island was a mutant, guys.
No, I get that there's a certain amount of comics are fun.
A mutant, though. It was an alien plant monster, and now it's a mutant because
wait a minute. Is Krakoa basically the Marvel version of Starro?
No.
Okay.
No.
Starro's better written.
Yes.
Starro is better written.
Krakoa didn't really want to conquer the world.
I mean, it clearly
the Phalanx
does now.
is Marvel's version of Starro.
Yeah.
I actually like the Phalanx.
Well, I like Starro.
I also like the
Starro's the
Brood.
best comic villain, hands down.
Brood, I would actually say the Brood are more like Starro, but your mileage may vary. Either way,
Starro was kind of morally ambiguous, like the Phalanx. The Brood, they're just evil.
They're just xenomorphs, but different.
Yeah. So anyway,
like the only
really
time
philosophizing Starro.
The only time we've ever seen a Brood with any kind of morality was in Planet Hulk.
But let's get back to Rune's point.
Right. All I'm getting at, okay, is that
I'm just making sure we have enough comics to talk to appease Rune this week, since
So all I'm getting at is that we are supposed to come away with the idea, right, that humans and mutants coexisting is the goal, because that metaphorical coexistence should apply to everybody everywhere, right? Like that's always been the goal of X Comics, right?
No, but that's the goal when X Comics became popular.
When X Comics are written well.
Well, right, but I mean, like the original X Comics run with Stan Lee wasn't focused on that.
Well, no,
they also didn't sell.
The original run of X Comics with Stan Lee was kind of wacky fun too. So I'm not gonna criticize the first run for being fun. What I'm getting at though is why do we think, and why does Marvel think that's a good idea to present the X people like they are separate from the world, and then when they do try to mingle them, do it in the worst possible fucking way? Why is that?
Well, because the current Marvel creative team supports racial separatism.
Right, but this has been a problem.
And forcing women to write things that they don't want to write about.
And also trying to have women say that they're trans when they're not, or lesbian.
I'm just saying this has actually been a problem for longer than the current run of dipshits.
Like how long are we talking about? Because the current run of dipshits has been going on for over 10 years.
I would say at least the 90s, at least the Onslaught era. There's been a lot of focus on the idea that the X-Men is its own little bubble.
No, because just before the Onslaught era, they had other Marvel heroes trying to stop the Mutant Registration Act. Which makes it ironic that the same Marvel heroes who fought against the Mutant Registration Act were later the Marvel heroes who pushed through the Superhero Registration Act.
Well, apparently,
and the X-Men just decided to say, "Fuck that! We're not even getting involved. Stay away from us."
Also more importantly,
no. Remember how it actually went was Tony went to the X-Men and sat down with the White Queen, a villainess, and said, "I'll ignore you, i.e., I will pretend you group of Jews don't exist if you don't help the other Jews." and the White Queen said, "Okay."
Right, but in the 90s...
Calm down, Fuentes.
Yeah, but in the 90s, when the situation happened, Tony Stark was out there protecting the X-Men.
Right.
And the other mutants.
Oh, I mean, the implication is that Tony Stark's political spectra is entirely what's convenient and useful for Tony Stark in the moment.
Well, don't forget that Civil War, one of the premises Mark Millar had of Civil War is, what if 9/11, but George W. Bush was right?
Right. I mean, that's his thesis, but that's clearly also bullshit in application.
And he didn't write that in his thesis either. I
also have to point out that, because it is worth credit, small credit where credit's due, Tony got screwed in that event. The number of books Tony got kept getting cut. So you don't actually get the full surfeit of theoretical perspectives Tony should have brought to the story, which is why they really need to make their peace with the fact they made Tony the villain.
But let me also continue along here.
Yeah, sure.
The reason in the Onslaught era the X-Men were treated as a separate thing was because they were porting off all of their more mainstream characters to try to spin them off because Marvel was broke and they were having a fire sale.
Right.
And that's a legacy from that standpoint. The X-Men were popular, but popular enough to keep as the engine driving the company.
Well, let me also step in and point out that the X-Men had at that point already provingly been successful, separated entirely from Marvel with Age of Apocalypse.
And the only thing more successful than the X-Men at Marvel at that era was G.I. Joe.
Spider-Man.
No, G.I. Joe's even more successful. G.I. Joe was
the only other book that had multiple titles.
G.I. Joe had multiple titles.
Did it at Marvel?
Yeah.
Are you counting Transformers?
No, I'm counting just G.I. Joe. Give me a second.
I did
I
not
know
realize
they had multiple titles over their run, but I didn't know they had multiple ongoing titles of G.I. Joe.
I did not realize this was going to be this deep of an interesting hole of comics lore.
What do you take us for?
No, I'm saying, like,
Indeed.
honestly, I didn't realize it was going to run this deep. I thought I was just going to be told, here's how you're wrong and here's why, which is still going to happen.
I can play.
Well, I think it does prove one thing: when it comes to comic books, the X-Men is something we all feel passionately about.
That's fair. The one thing we agree on.
Well, we don't agree on it, but we all feel passionately about the topic.
Right.
That's fair.
Well, I mean, age-based, how many of us were younger people? Obviously, we all were younger people, but
I mean,
how many of us were in the right
realistically,
age group for the animated X Adventures?
No, I was older when that came out.
So realistically, there was only two.
No, he's talking about
G.I.
X-Men
Joe.
92, Ayrton.
Yeah, realistically, though,
I was
there were
older than
two-
I am now.
Realistically,
yeah,
there were
yeah.
two
That's how the
G.I. Joe
past
series
works.
at Marvel, and one of them was basically like a side story G.I. Joe comic that they would do.
Was it a mini series though? Because I don't count that.
No.
Okay.
It's kind of like the solo Avengers comic they used to do, where they would have like an Avenger off to the side of the main Avenger story. So it was like a bunch
like
of
Wolverine.
like,
Wolverine was always doing some shit, even when he was an X-Man and an Avenger and a main part of the Scooby-Doo.
Right. But you see, Wolverine was always like a main character. This would be like, we don't have a Hawkeye series, but we're going to write a Hawkeye story. So they would do it in the Avengers solo series that they used to have.
I mean, I remember back when Marvel used to do actual what ifs. And that was a wonderful way to address characters that you didn't really have support for a book for, but you wanted to do a story about.
The problem with what ifs is a lot of time the what if stories were more interesting than the actual ongoings with the characters, and it would draw sales. It would draw sales away from the books they were actually trying to sell.
I mean, I have argued this before. I've said this is the problem with DC. They loved Dark Knight Returns so much because of the sales it made that now they're trying to make that the canonical future of Batman.
Right,
And it's not. It shouldn't be.
But the thing is with that particular Elseworlds, it has enough of a probability to have become the outcome of Batman.
Yes and no.
To weave into the Batman lore in a certain setting. Like,
Okay,
I don't think Court of Owls Batman ends up as Dark Knight Returns Batman, but I do think Death in the Family Batman does.
Right, but here's what I was gonna say about that is, it's not that I have a problem with the idea of Dark Knight Returns being an end result where years of failure and guilt have made Batman an extremist. That's fine, right? But I do have a problem, as we often talk about, with Batman is a fascist. He always was.
Well,
this is a
I actually think it would be the
recontextualization.
death of Alfred that leads him down that road, to be honest.
Right, but remember, Alfred wasn't dead in Dark Knight Returns.
I know, but I'm saying that's how I would get to that ending if I needed to get there.
Oh, sure, because without Alfred's moderating experience, Batman becomes
the moral compass goes completely off kick.
But let me get this
real quick.
Let's get this trick out
real quick. Just closing out the what if thing. The reason that what ifs don't work that well is because they were almost all like the Arabian Night Green Lantern Elseworld. Like, it was all so far fetched that it couldn't have been woven into the main storyline. Like Red Sun Superman, you could actually make that happen by writing in that, Russian Lex Luthor got a hold of some Superman DNA while there was kryptonite involved or some crazy shit like that and cloned
Russian Lex Luthor was Golden Age Lex Luthor, although he was technically Yugoslavian Lex Luthor.
But you get what I'm saying. Like, you could make Red Sun Superman happen.
This is the only proper No, this is the only acceptable Batman.
Can't throw it on the ducks.
Some days you just can't get rid of a bomb.
But anyway, so let's
that is
kind of
in my head canon. That is the only acceptable Batman.
well, they made a run of that for DC Comics.
How well did it sell?
It sold well for the first 3 or 4 issues.
About how long the joke would last?
No,
anyway.
I would read an ongoing series if that was Batman. Legitimately.
So anyway, we're gonna get back to the news article talking about how they turned
Alright.
Magneto into Che Guevara.
Okay.
When Magneto, from iconic writer J.M. DeMatteis and beloved artist Tom Now, neither of those people are iconic
Who?
or beloved, exactly, was first announced last month, many fans of the Master of Magnetism were ecstatic to see the complex anti-hero back on the panel, especially after Magneto's tragic
many ones of fans were ecstatic.
Wait,
after Magneto's tragic death.
Complex anti-hero. I feel like
We're
that's
gonna-
an
we're gonna-
understatement.
We're going to address that in a moment, especially after
Okay.
Magneto's tragic death at the hands of Uranus in the Judgment Day event. Magneto is not a complex...
Magneto got killed by Uranus.
Exactly. But Magneto is not a complex anti-hero. You can argue he's an anti-hero. You can argue he's an anti-villain, but he's not complex. It's very simple. I
I'm
experienced
still
some shit as a
laughing about him
Jew.
getting killed by Uranus.
Exactly. Although Uranus is the correct pronunciation, but it's okay to call it Uranus. I approve. But Magneto's not complex. I married a gypsy. I was a Jew. We went through some shit. I don't want mutants to go through that shit.
I was in the Holocaust, according to some people.
I fucking hate that. I hate that so much.
Okay,
But I
can
mean,
we?
I was in the Holocaust and became mutant Hitler because of it.
Now, I mean, that's a problem. That's a problem in the whole story. But what I'm saying is his motivations aren't complicated. They're really not. They're very simple. They're very clear. That's why he's a good villain character.
It's why he's a good character in matter of point. Clear, reasonable, well-understood motivations make characters in funny books that have to be snappy and to the point. That's always been the secret to success. Don't overcomplicate the stew.
Hold on, I'm curious about his X-Men team here. We have two like.
Well, no, we're gonna get down there. We're gonna get down there.
This is bothering me.
No, this is the New Mutants. That is Wolfsbane. That's Cannonball.
Wolfsbane,
That's Magneto.
Cannonball.
That's Magma. Yep. Excuse me. Danny Moonstar, Mirage, Sunspot, and Magic.
Yeah.
Okay, why is Sunspot just a mixture of Nightcrawler and these two?
He's not a mixture of Nightcrawler.
Because the artist doesn't
in
know
that
how to
lighting
sunspot.
and that coloring, he looks like Nightcrawler, but he's actually more akin to like Obsidian.
Yeah, this is a bad cover.
And why do we have another Archer?
Smoke,
we already have
you.
Hawkeye.
Well, she's not really an archer, but she has a bow and arrow because you have to know she's a Native American.
Yeah, Ayrton, you're showing your lack of knowledge. I am a fan of New Mutants because the first New Mutants book I ever read was about Danny Moonstar being on death's door and the New Mutants entering her mind space to fight a demon bear. She's always
I did read that. Yeah, I just forgot about it.
And the demon bear thing ended up being in the movie. The New Mutants movie was actually almost good.
Yeah, it was just a horribly mismanaged advertising process, and I think it went direct to streaming because I never fucking watched it.
But I'm just saying, as like a team, like a Marvel team, you have like two Human Torch-esque people and another Archer.
Well, no, he's not a there's only one Human Torch-esque person. Cannonball is a human cannonball.
I think it doesn't matter because
I'm going off of the artwork and like
I do believe
the presentation of their powers here.
I do believe Ayrton is onto something here, but not in the way he thinks he is, because there is in fact a giant glaring problem here. Okay, and that is Wolfsbane, Cannonball, Sunspot, Magic, Danny Moonstar. That is 5 characters who were first-run New Mutants. They're not New Mutants anymore. If anybody happens to remember, Generation X was supposed to be the New Mutants for a new generation.
But hold on.
Where's the newness in this team?
Well, no, this is a retro miniseries. This is a series set in the past,
as you have mentioned.
So
I
Marvel
still think it's dumb.
Team is
for
up
their
now.
August release was recently announced. Include 2 exciting covers. As we see these covers up here, neither of them are exciting. The second
Is this
cover is
supposed to be
actually
Magneto?
less exciting. It is, and the second cover is even less exciting than the first.
Why does he look like a gay porn star?
Probably because we used a porn star to crib the art rather than draw it.
Also, his costume looked that way because that was the style at the time.
He wore an onion on his belt because it was the style at the time.
As is tradition.
Magneto. So here's the solicit. This is what Marvel thinks is going to sell you on this book. Magneto was right! Exclamation point. Magneto burst onto the scene as the most diabolical of the evil mutants! Exclamation point. But when Professor Xavier must leave the planet for life-saving treatment, comma, Magneto inherits a new title, Teacher! Exclamation point. With the new mutants under his tutelage, how will these young and powerful mutants learn to take orders from ... a supervillain? Question mark! Exclamation point.
So this statement right here, they're saying Jewish mutant Hitler was right. That's what they just said, right?
Yes. Well, we're gonna get to that in a moment.
Well, wait a minute. Before we, just for clarity, remember the popular reinterpretation of Magneto, which admittedly is Claremont era and is great, is that Magneto is Malcolm X. So what they're actually trying to say, badly, is that Malcolm X was right.
And the Black Panthers are right, which is why Black Panther's a popular character.
Right.
So
they believe.
But anyway, and one who tried
this might
to
be
kill
just
them,
as good as Marvel's Race War. We're totally reading this, by the way, to review.
And one who tried to kill them, and I'm going to say kill in capital letters because it's important. Kill them and their predecessors? Question mark! Exclamation point. I'm actually saying out the punctuation because I think the punctuation is so ridiculous here.
We'll see. I'm a pedant because I'm going to be like, that's grammatically incorrect.
There are 2 sides to every story, comma.
No, there aren't.
One side of the story is the Jews are getting killed, and the other side of the story is like, well, things happen. It was a weird time in Germany in the 30s.
Look, nothing happened between 1938 and 1940. We went to Dairy Queen. Everybody was invited.
Don't ask what Volkswagen was doing between 1930 and 1945.
Look, Hugo Boss just felt that particular suit of clothes was not up to standard.
Yep. And James DeMatteis,
they had some drip, let me tell you.
Weave a tale that will show how Magneto was right, ... from a certain point of view.
I get that somebody saw
Obi-Wan
Star Wars. Yeah, I want to say I get that somebody saw Star Wars, but that's not how anything fucking works.
Well, hold up. That was actually a tagline in Revenge of the Sith, that there were heroes on both sides of the Civil War.
Right, but that's a civil war where there is actually a moral quandary about who's right. That's not the same as Nazi mutants.
There wasn't a moral quandary in the American Civil War. The North was wrong.
Anyway,
that's a different question. That's a different conflict.
Comma, known as Ire. So we're gonna be retconning a new audience viewpoint character into the past to ruin the quality of the past storytelling. In her first ever appearance, all in capital letters, comma, has taken
first ever, except for all the other times the character has appeared that we know.
No, this character hasn't appeared before. It's the author viewpoint character.
Right.
Has taken Magneto's lessons to heart in a way that will upset even the master of Magneto.
Wait a minute. So what we're actually watching is the rise of a Hitler Youth? Is that what's going on?
Yeah, it's the wave. That will up in the master of magnetism's best strategies! Exclamation point. Get ready for an all-new saga set during Magneto's tenure as headmaster of the New Mutants, comma, and learn how once diehard villain emerged as a conflicted figure in the saga of the X-Men. No, Magneto wasn't conflicted at that point in time. He's like going, I went too far in some places, and I need to atone for my actions.
Well, that's the thing. Can we mention that the entire reason that Magneto was able to become Professor of the X-Men was not because Xavier was off planet. That was coincidental. But rather because Magneto had just been betrayed and lost control of Asteroid M.
No, this was before Asteroid M was even a thing.
No, I seem to recall how it went. Was he got tired of fighting over Earth, tried to establish Asteroid M, got fucked by Fabian Cortez.
This is before that.
And then
this is all before Fabian Cortez and all that stuff.
I'm just saying, I thought that feeling desolate and confused, he actually went to Xavier and was like, I was maybe kind of wrong, but not really. Can you help me out?
Well, no, this is after his trial, and Xavier gives an impassioned, testimony, and Magneto gets a suspended sentence.
Right.
In exchange for service.
Can we just talk about how he looks like he should fit in with the Village people?
Well, I mean, that's part of the Marvel's current branding.
Again, that was the style at the time.
So now we're going to get into
from the 70s, if I recall.
Mid 80s.
Okay.
This was a year after Secret Wars.
Gay.
Marvel is finally acknowledging that Magneto was mainly right.
No.
When Magneto first debuted more than 60 years ago, it wasn't more than 60 years ago.
What?
We're not gonna. It wasn't more than 60 years
ago.
No,
it wasn't.
That's not how math works. He was a quintessential evil villain, controlling the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants and attacking any human in sight. No clear goal in mind, besides want destruction and mutant supremacy. I mean, except for the fact he said his goal explicitly in the book. However, after X-Men's 1975 relaunch in Giant-Sized X-Men #1, which is a title that certainly means a different thing today than it did back in 1975, Magneto's characterization became a lot more complex. No, it didn't. With the Holocaust survivor's intense passion for mutant survival evolving with a more nuanced and understandably righteous anger, which was in the older comics, if you read them, especially in light of the repeated assaults on mutant kind by various factions of humanity. For many years, Magneto and Xavier stood on opposite sides, with Charles arguing for human-mutant coexistence and Magneto advocating that this was an impossibility.
Wait.
No. Not that it was an impossibility. Let's call it what it is. Magneto wanted mutant supremacy.
No. Hold on. There's okay. So what this article is saying is because there is a faction of people who keep attacking and harassing another faction of people. The one who says we should eliminate other said faction of people is technically correct.
Yes, that's what they're advocating for.
Did Anthony Cumia write this article?
No, he did not. Somebody in the press department of Marvel Comics wrote this article. Repeated assaults on me for many years. Magneto stood on opposite sides. Blah blah blah. Impossibility. But over the years, Magneto's world-ending views. He didn't want to end the world because mutants lived in the world too. You don't want to be the villain who ends the world because the world is where you have all your stuff.
Yeah, that's called Apocalypse, who's a psychopath.
Have evolved to involve less want murder and more mutants' rights advocacy. They always were about that.
No, he was not an advocate for mutant rights unless the mutant rights were to put humans in camps.
Now we're going to go into knockoff Alan Moore. The phrase "Magneto was right" was popularized by the obnoxious but powerful young mutant Quentin Quire in Grant Morrison's new X-Men series. After his apparent death in the Genoshan Massacre, and since then, there have been countless arguments about whether Magneto's anti-human approach to mutant survival really was right. Thankfully,
no, there haven't. No one's talking about this.
Nope. Thankfully, the new Magneto series will see Marvel exploring Magneto's complex philosophy, except it's not complex, through a fresh lens. Yes, it's through the lens of how modern racial and gender politics believe that violence is the correct solution.
So, Ayrton,
or dare I say, the final solution.
You know how you had Marvel's Race War and you thought that was great? We are basically now talking about. We are now basically talking about Marvel's Mein Kampf.
Oh, this is amazing. It's MagConf.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
This is
Focusing on a lost tale from a time when Magneto first became intimately acquainted with Xavier's dream. In truth, Magneto's first real redemption came as headmaster of the New Mutants, a role he took on at the specific request of his dying friend Charles Xavier. That removes a lot of context. Now we're going to get into how the irrelevant era that we're currently in X-Men, Krakoa has vindicated much of Magneto's philosophy. Yes,
No, it
yes,
hasn't.
no, it has. It has. Look at how great everything is for the mutants now that they're blackmailing world governments and they're controlling corporations through giving them immortality and health drugs.
This article reads like a fake FBI manifesto.
It really does.
Well, look, I'm just saying, somebody from Marvel Comics, somebody from Marvel Comics is offering me a free AR-15 air.
You've saved Marvel Comics. Marvel Comics is not Marvel Comics. Marvel Comics is being controlled by the FBI. This is all designed to out people.
Federal Comics.
Yeah, these are Fed bots. I'm okay now.
The founding of Krakoa was an important moment for both Xavier and Magneto. No, it wasn't, because they're both plant people. They're not the real Xavier and Magneto.
Correct.
With Xavier finally admitting that his dream of peaceful coexistence was dead.
Is it? Hold on. Is it confirmed that Magneto and Xavier
did somebody
both
actually
died?
fucking say it?
Mm-hmm.
I am so pissed. I'm back to being pissed off. Thank you, Larry.
And Magneto acknowledging that the destruction of humanity was not necessary. Not when you could control Big Pharma. Once you control Big Pharma, you basically control humanity. That is literally a plot point for the current era of X-Men.
In current X-Men, isn't Apocalypse on their side too?
Yes,
he is.
That's part of the
So
problem.
Apocalypse was also right.
That's the thing.
Yes.
When your belief system is so fucking, I'm going to use their term, toxic, that the eugenicist who believes in survival of the fittest is on your side and thinks you're the good guys, you have a fucking problem.
Well, not only that, don't forget the mad scientist who believes in human experimentation is also part of their governing body.
Wait,
and
Sinister?
Sinister's on the governing body. And
they let the mutant Mengele on the government?
Yes. Wait.
Well, he was also right, Rune.
It's even better than that, Rune. Exodus, the mutant religious extremist, is also on the government.
You know, I'm gonna refer to something that my friend Raven Wolfgar says, and I usually disagree. I'm usually like not on board, and I hate to say this, but I'm gonna tell him this tomorrow at that podcast. Strife was right.
He was.
Strife was right. I want Strife to come back and end this shit. Save us, Nathan
BC-14. I think the next BC-14 film should be Magneto versus the Mutant Illuminati, and where we meet the Krakoan clone of Magneto, who is immortal, who's been living on Mars for 1,000 years.
I was gonna say, does it sound like
no. Well, hold up. You know what they've done to Mars in the Krakoa era, right, Church? They terraformed Mars and made Mars a new mutant homeland.
I thought they gave that to the Inhumans to get them the fuck out.
I mean, everybody's forgot
that was
about
a different timeline.
Because the Inhumans don't matter. The Inhumans don't matter.
No, they don't. That's why they were sent to Mars.
Oh, you mean like how you mean like how we sent them to the moon because they didn't matter for like 20 years?
Yep.
Well, I mean, you got to have an internment camp where they're out of sight and out of mind, Rune.
Look.
So
the problem was they couldn't get somebody to build a casino on the blue area of the
moon. so this comic, if I'm understanding this article correctly, is a group of former World War II radicals and mad scientists now working for a government and control a pharma company to exterminate humanity.
Let me explain to you what's happening to the plant mutant thing. Xavier came back from the dead to establish an ethno-national state on an alien plant creature that's actually a mutant. And he brought in Magneto, aka Mutant Hitler. He brought in Apocalypse, Mutant Doomsday Cultist, Exodus, Mutant Religious Cultist, Mr. Sinister, Mutant Mengele, and I forgot
Yeah.
who the fifth person on the White Council was.
So a
See,
bunch of German
Oh,
scientists and
Sebastian
radicals.
Saw. Sebastian
Yeah,
Saw,
Sebastian Shaw.
rich Illuminati asshole.
So
And that's
like
who
I
they
said,
decided to- so that's who they decided to be their government.
I do want to mention this is not the first time they've tried this clarion call. They just tried it with a different character. Because the last time I heard about this much of someone being right, his name was Cyclops. And oh wait, Cyclops sucks Xavier's dick because Cyclops always does what Daddy Xavier tells him to do.
Well,
So,
I mean, that's what happened after Chris Claremont got away from the character.
Any faction that has Xavier on it, where Cyclops is in support, Cyclops is right, as we've been told by Marvel. Therefore, Magneto is right.
Well, no, it's because the writing staff at Marvel doesn't believe that white people and not white people can live together. That straights and not straights can live together. So they're creating a cultural justification for political violence.
so are they saying we should send gay people to the moon and or Mars? Or an island in the middle of the South Pacific?
No. Remember, the way it works.
The gay people should control the chemicals that get put in the water to make the frogs gay.
The way it works, Ayrton, is not that we should send gay people to the moon, but that you, a white person, should send yourself to the moon to give franchise to gay people. Because that's the only way society can work.
But also,
trust me, if I could get to the moon and then lasso a goddamn meteorite and throw a saddle on it and ride it into the earth, I would.
Yeah, but that's not what you get. What you get is you get to go to the moon and then sit there and have nothing and feel bad so that gay people can feel good about themselves. That's how this is supposed to work.
Also, in this analog, gay people have an orgy house on the moon that you're not allowed to go into.
Yeah, you are, however, allowed to.
We have a guest. We have a guest.
Oh God!
Hooray!
Oh God!
Oh,
hello. How's it going?
After we've got all of our shittiest commentary out of the way.
No, we had good commentary there. We were talking about how the X-Men comics have become terrible.
Yes, that is true.
Our special guest did actually get here.
Sorry, I'm a little late.
Oh, no worries.
That's okay.
No worries.
That is all my bad. I forgot it was Memorial Day and I work at a campground, so I got swamped.
Oh, well, that sounds...
So, yeah, I totally meant to get in touch with you way sooner than I did. But thank you for showing up.
No, thank you for the invite. I checked at about 9 p.m. and there was nothing there. And so we went out and I've had several glasses of wine. So it's a good time.
Perfect.
You can go ahead and ask me anything. And it's nice to be on your show.
Oh, well, again,
thank you very much.
We are all so excited.
First and foremost, anyone watching now on Rumble or watching the replay, this is BC14, the master crafter himself of such riveting thrillers as Trump versus the Illuminati and Bigfoot versus Megalodon, the man after my own heart.
Well, I have to ask, should we refer to you as BC or as Lee Van Cleef?
Bob Houck. Let's go, Bob.
Okay. All right, Bob.
All right.
I love that movie.
It is Escape from New York is the finest film ever made, by my opinion. So.
Oh, I can get behind that.
Okay.
I don't know. I would say Bigfoot versus the Illuminati was probably my favorite film I've watched in the past year.
Right. Well, right, but inspired by.
In the past year. Okay, in the past year. We'll go with that.
All right.
Clearly inspired by Escape from New York.
Well, this whole interaction came about because my co-host Ayrton introduced us
first because I watched Trump versus Illuminati.
Yeah, it was Larry.
Then I turned Ayrton on to this because Ayrton has a special love for bad movies. And I don't mean bad movies in your movie's bad, but there's a genre of movies that defy the convention of traditional movie storytelling, traditional cinematics, and because these movies break the mold so much, there's a joy in watching.
There are people that assert these movies are bad for you, not that they are bad quality.
It's in some of these narratives, I am actively trying to hurt people. So
You have succeeded in that, sir.
So we're back to today. You chose violence.
And then Ayrton
so
watched
that
your movie, and then immediately binged all your other movies.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Well, not
and then
all
forced
of them.
us to bench them.
So I watched all the Bigfoot ones.
I was gonna say, what exactly have you guys watched?
I have watched Bigfoot versus Illuminati, Trump versus Illuminati, and Bigfoot versus Megalodon.
There's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot of Illuminati in there, isn't there? Wait until you see Space Masons. That's coming up real soon.
Ooh.
Oh,
Okay.
Is that about Freemasonry?
Yes, it is. Freemasonry and space.
No, Rune. It's a space guy that blazes bricks.
We always end up going to space. It's something about animation. I don't know.
So that actually leads into my biggest question. Where, I guess, who are your writing influences? Because I'd say every like 10 minutes, there's one line that just catches me so off guard, and I just start laughing my ass off. For example, I think it's Bigfoot versus the Illuminati, where Aleister Crowley is first showing up to talk to Anubis, and Anubis says, "Why do I smell
No, that's
cured
Trump
meats?"
versus Illuminati.
Is that Trump?
Yeah,
He talks to Anubis
okay.
in Trump versus Illuminati.
And then Aleister Crowley goes like, "Sorry, I had a liverwurst sandwich." That interaction had me laughing for like 5 minutes straight.
Yeah, there's it's the inspirations. Gosh, I could probably spend a couple hours talking about where this stuff comes from. Some of it is off the top of my head in the moment, but the literary inspirations really lean into everything from like John Carpenter is a big influence. Book wise,
Let me throw something out there and tell me if it's something that you've partaken in and maybe been a little inspired by.
I'm sorry, say it again.
I said, let me throw something out there and tell me if it's something that you've indulged in and maybe been inspired by.
Okay.
Wild cards.
I knew it. I knew you were going to ask that. You son of a bitch.
Okay, there's a series by George R.R. Martin and his tabletop buddies that they put together.
I'll be honest. I've never read George.
This is
right,
George
fine.
is more like the line editor for the book, although he does write a few of the short stories.
But it's a bunch of authors that get together to play tabletop, and they became what's called the Wild Card Foundation. And all of the characters they created for their tabletop game basically became the main characters of these novels. One guy is powered by tantric sex magic and did a bunch of like deep diving into Crowley and all of that stuff. And the entire time I'm watching this, I'm like, I know all of these things because of wild cards, but I like this better.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I got into a loop of doing children's cartoons a few years back, and
I saw you have credits on Pets, and that's
I did. Listen, I did so much family friendly stuff for a few years there, and I came out of like horror films and documentary, and I got this kids animation gig, and they were like, "Listen, you got to play it clean, you got to play it straight." And I said, "Cool." And it was around the time my wife and I were having children, and I was like, "This is very cool. We can make some family friendly stuff, and I can, we can enjoy it at home." And that led to more and more because they kind of took off. And before I knew it, I had spent a couple of years making very kiddie material, which by the time that was over, I was so sick of it. When I worked for a producer out of Maui, and they said, "We'd like to do some adult animation." I said, "Ooh, like heavy metal? Let's, can we blow the gates open and just take all the brakes off? They said, yeah, there's no rules, there's no whatever you want to do, you're in complete control. And I did go a little crazy, primarily through the Aleister Crowley character. I when he came into the fray, he was given to me. I didn't plan to include that Crowley lizard spirit character, but the producers wanted to go that route, and I said okay. And at the time, I wanted to get so far away from kids' material and family-friendly stuff. I said, all right, let's go for the most nihilistic version of Crowley that we could possibly drum up. Let's go for the cult house with the scat play and the sacrifices and all those terrible rumors you heard about.
Yeah, didn't care who he goes to bed with. Was honestly more interested in Helsing than he was the woman.
Yeah. Okay, so we have this lizard character, and it's Crowley. Let's take the most obscene version of Crowley that we can put together. And at the time, I was so happy to be away from like la la la, and I said, all right, let's just hurt psyches with this thing, Let's whatever he can do to throw a wrench in the narrative wheel. Let's go for that. And
among my co-hosts, I'm the stiff.
okay.
So I'm the one that's like, what the fuck am I watching? but I love it because I love bad movies too. I just have one question. I only have one thing that eludes my understanding.
Yes.
Why Sammy Davis Jr.? Why does Bigfoot sound like Sammy Davis Jr.?
I thought he sounded like Fat Albert. You don't think he sounds like Fat Albert?
I mean, he could too, but why?
That's brilliant voice acting, Rune.
I mean, Van Helsing is obviously Dean Martin in this scenario.
You are correct, sir. Yes. The voice actor that we hired for Bigfoot, we tried out a few voices, and the one that, like you guys, the one that made me laugh, was the one that kind of sounded like Fat Albert. And so
it's the same voice actor that does Van Helsing as well, correct?
It is. That was the same gentleman. He's no longer with us. So in the new series that is coming out, I voice Bigfoot, and I don't. The plan is that you will hear no difference. I think I nailed it. You tell me. But
all right.
Yeah, we've got 5 more films dropping soon.
Oh wow!
And
so it's the Bigfoot
that was actually
cinematic universe, right? Is this what we're calling it?
That's actually something I wanted to ask you a question about on the business side. So I have some friends who do e-publishing through Amazon, and one of the secrets they tell me of the Amazon model is the more things you publish, the more things you sell, because when you publish something new, people will start popping into your old stuff. Have you seen something like that with the films you're releasing once you put them on Prime? That you see more traction on your older stuff, or is that not something on the movie side that you actually get access to under the hood?
To tell you the truth, I'm not on that end of it. I go through Wow Now Entertainment, and I'm not. These aren't self-released, so I couldn't answer that question. I know we're big on Tubi, and we've got, I think, all the streaming platforms at this point. Yeah, I don't. I do individual deals, and I sort of take the projects as they come, and some of them I pitch. We've got one coming up. It's Bigfoot Goes to Hell, and that was all my. I said, hey, why don't we do Bigfoot Goes to Hell? And they said, yeah, sure, let's go for it.
I mean, the world building you have makes that pretty easy.
Is this the same hell that DJ had to go to, or DT had to go to?
It is the same hell, yes.
Okay.
My other question I want to ask is because I've gotten into the whole AI art scene, and I don't know if you've seen the AI video stuff, which isn't quite ready for prime time yet. But that's something you'd like be looking towards eventually moving towards once the AI video stuff gets
I
ready
beg
for
to
prime time.
differ, Larry. Looking at this image, AI is
Oh, no,
absolutely ready for video.
That's not the video stuff. That's just the image. That's just still. Now you can take stuff like that, you can rotoscope it, and it looks okay. But they actually have things where you have the AI generating videos completely out of whole cloth. The beer commercial is the famous one that everybody's seen, where there's a giant fire that just starts going everywhere, and
Right.
beer things like morph into weird shapes, and everybody's drinking from it, but no one's mouth is touching the stuff. But that's like generation 1, generation 2 of the technology.
Well, that's because the perfect alcohol finds your mouth. You don't have to find it.
but like, is that something you'd be interested in as a medium once the technology becomes more refined?
I would be interested in anything that puts a check in the account, basically.
Yes,
after my own heart and beat.
I certainly see that in your very gritty style. Are you familiar with Neil Breen's work?
I no. Say the name again.
Neil Breen.
No, haven't heard of him.
So Neil Breen does very similar kind of stuff, but with live action, and so there are certain limitations to what he's able to do with the live action medium.
He's a very special real estate agent out of Vegas who makes his own independent films.
And he's now doing the whole film show circuit with his stuff. He's developed such a renown.
Oh.
And he has a very unique political voice that's in his artwork, including in 2 of his movies, all of the bankers were killed.
Ooh, well, it's interesting that you say that because I am finishing up Napoleon versus the Banks right now.
That's really well timed because they have that Napoleon movie that's going to be starring Joaquin Phoenix coming out soon.
My friend, why do you think we're doing it?
I know enough about how the film business works to know how that plays out.
Well, real quick, before we go any further, Ayrton went through the trouble to reach out and set this up. I know he's got some things that he wants.
Mostly because I have no shame.
Yeah,
that's okay.
But I know he's got things he wants to ask, and I want to give him the floor before we just completely derail this.
Well, I mean, just serious question here, Church. Is this actually the most prestigious guest we've ever had on the show? I'm apt to say
respect, out of respect for Don Chen, I'm going to have to say it's a tie between the two because they're both successful people in their medium, and they both appeal to us, the miscreants of society. So
my foray into movies like this started with finding a tape of Attack of the Killer Tomatoes in a thrift store, and I was just drawn to the title and the ridiculous artwork that I had to buy it. And I've seen Thanksgiving, Rubber, all those big ones. And the one thing I always want to know is just like why, like where, like like how did these ideas come into your head, having Bigfoot fighting reptilian space monsters 1,000 years in the future? Like, where did that possibly come from?
It was dropped into my lap. None of it was my idea. It started with Bigfoot versus Illuminati way back before the pandemic and all that fun action. My producer came to me with Bigfoot versus the Illuminati and the outlandish premise that existed there. And I said, okay, I'll take a crack at that. I had done, like I said, I had done the kids stuff.
Yeah.
And I was kind of enmeshed in that. And I was at the point where I was looking to get out of that. And I was like, do I want to do horror again or film noir? I mean, I've always done kind of hybrid stuff. I've never really been able to help pulling all kinds of influences in and sort of like we were talking about literary influences before. you could find healthy doses of Charles Bukowski or William Burroughs. I'm a big fan of the Beats. As a writer, there's it's if the character, I sort of let the characters take the stage, and if I can filter in anything from what might be lurking in the recesses of my psyche from things I know or whatever inspires me, it could creep in, and then you go from a legitimate, straight on, full on horror film to something that's sliding into film noir and sci-fi, and everything turns out to be a bit of a snake if I'm left on the page to run wild, because there's too much that crashes into the foray. But Illuminati came, and I said, that sounds wild. Let's take a shot at it. Do I have any rules? They said, no. I said, you can kill people, you can swear, I said, all right, that sounds like fun.
So you packed every single swear word you could think of into this
I packed
movie.
every crazy thing, because at the time, I was so pent up, because I had played it straight for a couple of years, just doing stuff for the kids. And I was like, man, I really, and I went a little nuts. And
I think your films were the first time I ever heard "cunt" dropped in a Tubi movie. And I thought to myself, I'm like, this guy has credits on Pets. Can I imagine that little puppy just dropping a cunt in the middle of the movie?
Well, that is you'll notice I did a lot of the kids' work under pseudonyms and nom-de-plume.
Yeah, of course. You have to.
Yeah, they didn't want to connect that material with some of this other stuff that I was doing. So
I want your talent, but your name can stay at home.
Also,
exactly.
Did I read this correctly? You had an Image Comics credit on your IMDb.
What is it?
Was there an Image Comics credit on your IMDb that I saw?
God, I have no idea. Is there?
If you want to go ahead and find that, Larry.
What is it? Which one is it? What is it called?
Give me a second. I gotta find your IMDb.
While Larry's digging that up,
it's in the description below, ladies and gentlemen. BC14. You can find him on Twitter and on IMDb, and the links below.
That is so funny, because I am barely on Twitter. I am there. I just signed up for it because we did a. I know this is going to shock you, but we did a live action psychological thriller. It is called The Dead Window. It is coming out this year. And one of the things that the producers, the distributors asked for was they got into the social media talk. Listen, if you go out there today and you sell a film, one of the things distributors will ask you about is your social media action. And I've never been much of a social media guy. To be honest, I don't really care. But we got into this chat, and they were like, a presence really helps the whole thing. And I said, okay, I'll open a page. And I opened a Twitter page, and one of the first people that came was you guys. And we started talking, and I had never even intended to use it. There's a couple of people that are connected with this new project that are on it. I don't look at it. I was there, and you guys began talking, and I was like, "Who are these cats?"
I'm so sorry.
No, it's fun. I mean, this is how it works, right? I'm such a Luddite that
here's the thing that they don't want to tell you in those meetings. Having a social media presence negates the need for as much of a marketing budget as they used to use back in the 90s.
That is right.
That allows them to promote things that are an hour and 9 minutes long, and predominantly on things like Tubi or Hulu, without having to put commercials on Tubi and Hulu.
You are correct, sir. Yes.
Well, and frankly, the way we found Trump versus Illuminati was somebody just posted a picture of the poster on Twitter, and then we were like, "There's no way this is real." So I googled it, and I was like, "Holy shit, it's real!" And
That was the interesting thing, is that when we made it, I thought that was a lark myself. It got a write up in the New York Times.
Really?
Yeah.
No shit. Let me pull that up.
Basically, the whole thing with that, once I saw it, I'm like going, so some crazy marketing guy said, like, look, there's a lot of Trump hatred right now. There's a lot of thought that like Trump's going to destroy the world. What if we have a movie that features that theme that we can play off of, and we can like get a lot of eyeballs on our movie? And there are going to be people who are going to watch it saying like, what? Why is there Trump and a space alien on this poster? I don't understand.
And again, my producer came to me and said, we want to do Trump versus the Illuminati. And I said, I this is maybe too much of a glimpse behind the curtain. I try not to tread in political waters, because there's always somebody that's going to be pissed off by something that you say.
Right.
I'm not a Trump guy. I've done a gang of Trump films, and again, it's because they paid. But if you look at them, they're not pro. It's just calling it down the middle. What happened?
Well, that's what I was. I was actually going to make that point when the Trump versus Illuminati was the first one I read. I'm not necessarily a Trump guy. I think Trump was hilarious.
Yeah, he turned our national discourse and our entire world identity into a high school cafeteria.
Well, that's
by the way, there's a movie that when I was watching your political discourse of Trump versus Illuminati that I immediately felt as a string of inspiration that I just posted the YouTube video there. If you want to pull that up for a second, Aaron.
Well,
it's like about a minute.
Before we watch that, I just want to say real quick, that's my thing, is I am really turned off by hyper politicized stuff. Sometimes I just want to get away, but I checked out these films because I care about this podcast. I made bad decisions in my life, and I feel the need to actually be familiar with the material that we're discussing. And I was like, oh wow, these are films by someone who just gives zero fucks. Just obviously cares about their craft, but does not care about what other people think.
That is a fantastic compliment, man.
And I'm just saying, I loved like there's Trump on Mars talking to the bad guys and just breaks into dance, and I'm leaning towards the TV going, what?
Let me reenact the best scene of the opening of that movie. I don't even think about grabbing pussies anymore. I just like to see a woman.
I want to ask if you're taking inspiration from this famous filmmaker and his political philosophy.
Or I'll play that real quick.
Oh boy.
Absolutely, dude.
Who the hell isn't influenced by John Waters?
Look, the answer is all the best people, Church. All the best people are influenced by John Waters.
Absolutely. I'm sorry. Can we curse on this program?
Of course.
Yeah, no, we can curse.
All right.
Number one, we don't have a large enough YouTube audience for that to be a concern, and number two, this is playing live on Rumble right now, where there's very lax rules.
Awesome.
And I do age restrict all of these videos so that children can't gain access to them if their parents are worth the fuck.
Superb. Yes.
But yeah, like I felt a sort of John Watersy kind of energy in how you were using Trump as a character.
Yeah, first of all, when you do a concept that outlandish, there has to be an element of taking the piss out of it. I also wanted to turn Trump into a sort of Snake Plissken. The
big hands were a great help.
Yeah.
Hey, that's one of those lines that got me. That got me hooked.
Maybe I shouldn't talk about this yet, but next month I'm starting Trump versus the Illuminati 2.
Well, it did end on a cliffhanger. He had not decided whether or not he was going to join up with Lucifer or not.
I've got a ticket somewhere else, and I'm still thinking about that. I pulled as much Escape from New York into that as I could, which really just makes it fun for me.
I mean, if you're really taking that kind of inspiration, you need to do like an Escape from LA inspiration with Ron DeSantis as Stacy Keach. Not Stacy Keach. Who was the guy who was playing the Pat Robertson character in Escape from LA?
That was Cliff Robertson.
Yeah. But you do like Ron DeSantis as Cliff Robertson's character.
Yeah. Who knows where it's going to go? I don't know.
Well, I mean, earlier tonight we were making movies. I wish you'd been here for it. It would have been neat.
So, are you familiar with the Magdalena Solis incident in Mexico?
Oh, here we go.
No.
So, this was an incident in Mexico where a couple of guys started a cult in a rural Mexican village.
Listening to you guys talk, I feel like I don't know what the hell's going on in the world. Go ahead.
Well, this was in the 60s. This was in the 60s.
Yeah, this is history.
So, like, these two guys started a cult, so that the Incan gods were going to help these impoverished Mexicans with treasure. But eventually, they were like going after the sex and drugs and orgies were happening. They're like going, well, we're still not getting any treasure, you guys. What's going on?
It always descends to the sex, drugs, and orgies.
So they went to Monterey to get some prostitutes to help out with the plan. But one of the prostitutes decided, well, maybe I am an ancient Incan goddess. And then there was like blood orgies and murders. And the story is about this Mexican police officer where a little boy runs into town because this town is the only town near him that has cops, who talks about crazy people murdering folks with blood. The cop takes the little boy home.
There are vampires in the next village over.
And the cop takes the little boy over to the next village, and then he and the little boy both get horribly murdered because the cult finds them and sacrifices them and uses them for the blood orgy. And this is a real thing that happened. She went to jail.
Well, yeah, but let's remember, because this is also an interesting bit. The Mexican police got the army to come help them take down the cult. Because the cult had so completely taken over this village that for the better part of a decade.
That says a lot about Mexican politics, which, having lived in Los Angeles for 15 years, I can attest there are strange things happening south of the border.
So we were talking about how you would make this into a horror movie, and we kept kicking around.
Hold on, Rune.
Okay.
There are definitely strange things happening south of the border. I've seen rumors of a what's the word for it? A anthropomorphized pig living down there who is addicted to Xanax and a heavy alcoholic.
Yes.
Raging terror on the entirety of the Yucatan.
Wait a minute. Church, are you advocating that BC should make a film called Chupacabra versus Hollering Hog?
For our guest benefit, there was a right-wing YouTube personality who has been on a death spiral with his own life, with one ex-wife, now a second ex-wife on the way, 3 kids that he's not paying child support for, hiding out in Mexico, taking Xanax, cocaine, and meth, and drinking a lot of alcohol.
Traveling to Portugal and getting the shit kicked out of him.
Yeah. He goes to foreign countries to show people that he's not poor, and he does that on his credit
and then
card.
Hires underage hookers and gets the shit kicked out of him by their pimps.
Hey, I'm going to pull you guys into the writer's room.
That's all we've ever wanted, BC.
Listen, I think you need to be on this team.
I mean, we have Ayrton has the exact math. We have a standing offer to buy Marvel Comics because we can't do worse than they're doing.
$12 and some pocket mint. Offer
$12.43 is the offer
in perpetuity.
Hey, what is my Image Comics credit? Did you say?
No, it was. I confused Image Entertainment with Image Comics.
Oh yeah, Image. Yeah. No,
then I looked up the history of that company, and I'm like going, "Oh, I understand my confusion, and I also understand what this company is doing." This company has done some really good stuff in the 2020s. They did that excellent Colorado Space movie starring Nicolas Cage, which is a really excellent movie.
They changed ownerships. It underwent a big overhaul, and I don't think we're with them anymore. I could be wrong.
Yeah, no, you're not. But that was like they talked about that as like your starting production point.
Yeah.
But to be completely transparent, this entire idea started with Ayrton and I deciding that we needed to get together at least once a week to talk about comic book things so that, my wife didn't kill me in my sleep. And because I would just bore the shit out of her with all of the comic book lore that I had stored in my brain and was constantly thinking about. And
Let
then
me ask-
around. No, go
Let
ahead.
me ask you about. I actually sitting in front of me right now. I just got.
If this motherfucker says Secret Wars,
going even deeper. I'm going way back. It's DC's Night Force Omnibus by Marv Wolfman and Gene Colan. Are you familiar?
Oh wow!
yes.
Oh wow! That is
Yeah.
a deep cut.
Yeah, I'm going to be digging into that probably tomorrow.
It's actually really good.
That's something else. Like how James Gunn is planning to bring back a Weird War comic story is one of his lead-ins for his run of DC Comics on the film.
Ah.
And that's one of my favorite comic genres that we don't do anymore. It's like, what if Frankenstein fought in the Korean War? which is right up your wheelhouse.
Exactly.
In discussing how did this weird amalgamation that is the Gospel of Comics at the Church of Failure come about, I am actually let's be honest, probably halfway failed comic writer who showed up once as a guest and this just wouldn't leave. That's how I became co-host.
We hit him with a broom and he stayed inside, so we adopted him as a pet.
Yeah, pretty much.
So I forgot exactly what is the lore of how I first started showing up on this show.
I don't honestly remember. I mean, you showed up and had more content than I did as the host of the show, so I kept you so I didn't have to work as hard.
I believe the lore of you showing up, Larry, is literally you made mistakes with your life and you're still regretting them. But you also live in Florida.
I'm just a Tyrion Lannister of comic books. I drink and I know things.
But
I have fantastic place.
I have an independent comic credit to my name, and I'm working on another one. The problem is writing when you have to do a day job is tough. Rune has a role-playing game credit to his name. Did you get that one comic book out back in the day that you were with your guy from Ireland?
No, it's basically in development hell forever.
That's a drag when that happens.
It really is.
Are you guys are you comic writers? Is there any artistry, or do you draw?
I don't draw. If I drew, people would view that as a horror show, which makes it harder to break into independent comics as a writer because most of the artists think they don't need a writer.
I've just been reading the things for over 30 years at this point. So and I use the term sparingly, but I'm a little autistic when it comes to this stuff. And I've got about 75 years of comic lore stored in the back of my brain.
What is absolutely ironic is I am a traditional artist with pencil, and I do halfway decent, but not industry standard. And now I'm a game designer, and we have much better artists there. And every so often, I'll take mouse and keyboard, and I will scribble something very badly, and go kind of like this guy's. And they're like, Joe, you got to get a new tablet. You got to get drawing. Apparently, I'm halfway decent, at least at the creator internal end.
Just next time you put hands on a little piece of money, buy an old iPad Air for like $200-$300, get a $30 old Apple Pencil, and it's better than any stylus or tablet you will ever put hands on.
There you go.
It's pressure sensitive. You can do classical drawings with all of the charcoal brushes you need. You can shade with the fucking thing.
And that's a great segue, because that's the next question we all collectively had is your animation.
Yes.
Is it
are you using
Unreal Engine?
Say again. I'm sorry.
Unreal Engine. Is it actually Unreal Engine that produces?
I don't know. The artist goes through my producer, and I'm not involved in the acquisition of the art, actually.
So it looks
I can't give you a glimpse behind that curtain.
No. It looks like he's using a common video game animation tool for the movie.
I believe it is.
I mean, I actually love how the primary creative does not know how the magic works. That is hilariously awesome.
If you've ever seen Red versus Blue, which is a Halo spinoff, a comedic Halo spinoff where they use gameplay of Halo to tell stories,
Gotcha.
It's very similar animation styles, and Unreal Engine is the engine that Halo was built on.
Okay, gotcha. I'm primarily scripter of these, and then when I get the animation in blocks, and then I cut from that. I haven't looked behind that curtain. I have asked for some things specifically. One of the problems I've had with the Versus series, which we are rectifying coming up, is Bigfoot versus blah 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 versus, and there wasn't on a few of these a climactic battle,
Right.
and that was a fight.
Video game fight scenes kind of suck.
Well, I think we've got some good stuff coming up. We've got Bigfoot versus Megalodon 2. And I can promise you, if you saw Bigfoot versus Megalodon, they do clash. There is a winner. I think it's pretty cool. But one of the early fights that I had was sort of having to be dialogue dependent, and the names of the films were not really. I had to kind of abide by the Versus plan, and I said, "Listen, we're doing Versus films, and we're not fighting. Can we fix this?" And we kind of went round and round on that for a little bit. I finally got it rectified, so expect some bloody fights coming up.
Well, Jason Van Helsing and Trump both had fairly good fight scenes. Jason Van Helsing in Bigfoot versus Megalodon, and Trump versus Illuminati. Obviously, when he infiltrated when he landed on Earth, if I'm not mistaken.
Trump takes out the little outpost there.
Right, yeah. And they both use the same knife throw and then jab sequence.
Yeah,
and that gave me a big rubbery one.
Well, thanks for sharing, Church. Keep the class
going. Because that was my other question. Do you purposefully reuse animation scenes to cut down on the budget? Because I love it. I think it's hilarious personally, but I was wondering if there was like a practical reason you did that.
It has come into the fray. Again, when we started these, it was very. It was like, hey, put this together, and we've got this block of action. And so I looked over the animation, and I was like, they asked me basically, what kind of script can you write from this? And they gave me very little. And I said, I can do something with it, but I need this, 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 and this. And they said, how about this and this? And so you get into the tug of war.
It's a negotiation.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, okay, with the budget that we're working with, we can pull it out to here. What can you do with that? And I'm like, well, I'm not one to turn down a deal, so we sort of make do with what we have. I didn't like naming the films Versus when we didn't have gigantic, or at least a payoff war at the end where they come face to face and they clash. And I faced that a couple times.
Let me set your mind at ease a little bit, because one of my favorite films is, and I'm not sure if you're familiar with it. I mean, I'm sure you've heard of it, but I don't know if you've seen it or religiously worshipped it like I have. The Fifth Element.
The Fifth Element.
Bruce Willis and Gary Oldman.
Yeah, I did enjoy it.
Okay, well, you'll notice if you think back to that film, the main protagonist and the main antagonist never actually meet on camera.
That is a good point.
And something else related to the show you're on right now, The Fifth Element was inspired by a Franco-Belgian comic series, Valerian at Lorelei, which Luc Besson was, I think it was Luc Besson who did that movie, who the French production company, and the director were interested in making. They didn't have the rights to, and then they later had the rights to Valerian and Lorelei. And instead of making the beginning movie in the series, which would have been easy, cheap.
They just skipped
quick
straight to
make.
the end.
No, they actually went dead center in the middle of the comic series.
Yeah, but
Oh,
They
so
made
they
something
Star Wars
dead
did.
center in the middle.
But Larry,
It was a-
Larry, again, Belgium. Belgium has more metal than we give it credit. Because they have that band that's based on the Magdalena Solis case, and they make Belgian waffles, and now you're saying Belgians are responsible for the Fifth Element.
They are.
Also, the only movie I've ever seen Bruce Willis get knocked out in.
That you are a fountain of historical information, my friend.
But yeah,
Yes,
like the whole
that's why
sequence
we
in
keep
New
him
York-
here.
The whole sequence in New York is designed off of one of the iconic scenes in Valerian at Lorelei, where they're in futuristic city, flying cars, cities, the uniforms, the design, the whole shebang of that.
I am a fan of starting any narrative in the middle of the trajectory. Generally speaking, I have.
I mean, it worked for Homer.
It has worked many times over the years.
It did.
Is anybody a fan of the Tomb of Dracula?
The Hammer movie?
The comic book?
The comic book.
Yes.
I've
Yeah.
read it. I can't say that I'm a fan, but I've read it.
I enjoyed that one. I also have that omnibus sitting over here, along with some Savage Sword of Conan.
Oh my God.
Savage Sword, I can definitely get into.
I can only get so erect.
Too much information.
No, just of the quartet, I am the huge horror comics fan. I'm constantly like, come on, guys, we can go read a book from the '80s. It'll be great. It's full of guts and eyeballs.
I just want to read ridiculous things. So
I'm not a big fan of modern comics, or maybe I'm just not familiar because I don't peruse everything that's out there. So
no, that's the right choice.
Yeah,
contemporary comics have a lot of problems, but the worst thing for the business
modern
is
comics have lived and died in LA for too long, as you said.
That is a fine point.
For the major comics companies, they can make far more money just reprinting the stuff in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s than by making anything good now. The only reason they're making good stuff now is to keep the IP farm going. Because an example I give people, the New York Jets got a license to use the Hulk for 2 home games, and they made more money, Marvel did, off of that license than they made off of Hulk comics for like 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah,
So
it's
stuff
gotten
now
to the point
is
where
just
the
promotional material.
It's the things that we love in comic books are being basically mined for all of their resources and left to die as feral husk of their old selves in the comic book landscape, because the MCU took off and then Marvel Comics went to shit.
As I've argued
the
before,
DCEU went to shit, and then DC Comics went to shit.
As I've argued before, Church, they really don't want comics characters to be characters. They want them to be racing stripes they can put on interchangeable cars.
Well,
it's once you at some point, I couldn't pinpoint the year for you, but I think they turned at this point, certainly you could make the case, every area of the arts at some point in the large commerce arena is eating itself, because we have placed
it progressively happened from 2005 to 2015.
Yeah.
So
I did. That's why I'm here. But
so I did a rough estimate in my head. The production cost for a run of a particular story arc in the comic, which is roughly 8 issues, costs about as much as Marvel or DC's parent company would spend on buying a spec script. So every run of comics you're seeing in Marvel and DC is a spec script that you're buying. So it's a spec script that doesn't cost the studio anything.
It's an elevator pitch.
It's an elevator pitch, doesn't cost the studio anything, and you pay for it. And it helps promote the licensing department selling the merch.
And if it fails and it doesn't take off, and if it succeeds, they make a TV show out of it where they make millions of dollars on streaming profits.
Whether it's qualitative or not.
And the
Correct.
Superman comic series never made as much money as Superman t-shirts.
Wow.
Or Superman tattoos.
Or Superman tattoos.
It's the fourth biggest tattoo in America as of 1996.
I hope none of you sport a Superman tattoo. The Superman logo tattoo is perhaps the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life.
I do
what
have
about
a
a
tattoo
Bigfoot
of
tattoo?
I do have a Green Lantern symbol and a Spider-Man symbol tattoo, but no Superman.
That is cool. That works. You know what? I will correct myself. The Tasmanian Devil is pretty stupid, but as a child
fair.
of the '80s,
Oof.
yeah,
I have a Tasmanian Devil and a Batman outfit as well.
Look, as a man who appreciates the entertainment of women, I find that I often judge whether or not I'm going to get along with a young lady by whether or not they have a Tweety tattoo. The answer is no.
But
I have known exactly one Tweety tattoo.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I have a cousin who has one, and I don't recommend
No.
her.
Hopefully she's not listening tonight, right?
An interesting thing for you in the whole space of comics is how the public domain debate's going on. So, public domain for Superman and Batman are going to be coming up in the next couple of years. And there's a serious argument if the comic companies are using trademarks to basically try to Shanghai the rights to control Superman and Batman forever. And there are a lot of legal scholars who think that that may not be possible. That they may
become possible for it's become possible for Mickey Mouse. Why wouldn't it be possible for the parent company?
Because they're not doing that anymore.
No. So the Mickey Mouse trademark issue is what they're doing, which they may lose out on, is they're putting Mickey into a not cartoon character Mickey related trademark. So they're trying to basically muddy things up a little differently. Disney has a superior trademark strategy for trolling Mickey Mouse.
So where Larry's going with this, if let's say these characters go into the public domain, will we be seeing, say, Bigfoot versus Mickey Mouse, Bigfoot versus Batman? Because I would love that.
If I could do Bigfoot versus Batman, I would do that tomorrow.
I knew you were going to be a gem of a guest.
I actually don't know if you know this. DC Comics did a bunch of weird comics where they combined multiple Warner properties together. So Porky Pig became a character in Gotham City.
Yes,
it's true.
I did not know that.
And they actually carried that on out of that little side comic. So Porky's Place, that was originally had Porky Pig, the actual pig, in this little mini series, got carried over into the mainstream Batman continuity.
Hold on, Larry. You're underselling this. You're not mentioning that Space Ghost and all of the Hanna-Barbera characters, as well as Johnny Quest, are also DC characters at this point.
Yes.
Johnny Quest is DC?
Yes.
He is now.
Wow. I didn't know that.
And they had, I forgot who they did Bugs Bunny. They had Bugs Bunny pop into someone's comic, too.
Actually,
I'll tell you in just a second.
Doesn't that mean that the Venture Brothers is also DC now?
No, because they're licensed separately.
Well, because Venture Brothers is the spoof of Johnny Quest. Very loudly.
Venture Brothers is owned by Cartoon Network, not Warner Studios.
Right, but
also
that's the thing. Isn't Cartoon Network owned by Warner though?
Yes, but the way the legal properties are divided up, into different baskets.
Right.
And that gets into how Doc Hammer did his deal when he pitched the Venture Brothers and his ownership of the IP.
Right. To dodge the antitrust.
Bugs got a comic book with Superman.
Yep, Bugs Bunny and Superman were in a comic book together.
Bugs Bunny and Superman is old school.
I would have put him like with Green Lantern or someone more fun.
Well, no, Green Lantern's with Daffy Duck. That's
Green Lantern. No, well, yes, but Daffy Duck also was with Batman at one point.
Yes.
Okay. That or Bugs Bunny with Lobo, that would have been fun.
Marvin the Martian was also with Green Lantern at one point.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
They did a parody cover of the Hal Jordan Parallax, the infamous 10 Rings finger.
Okay.
They did a parody cover of that with Marvin the Martian back in the day. That was back in the day when DC had a cool logo that looked like a D where you were turning the page and then there was a C underneath it.
Oh, did they get rid of the Corpo logo at some point?
Yeah, they went back to the old block style DC side by side.
Because status quo is God.
Well, you have to change your logo in the 2000s like everybody else.
Right.
Who is in charge of Marvel now? I was a Stan Lee kid. I don't even know who runs that.
So it's complicated. The chief creative officer of Marvel Entertainment is Kevin Feige, though Kevin Feige's got too many hats on, so it's unclear who's doing the day-to-day. There's the editor.
It's definitely not Dio.
Well, that's the guy who was with Warner, and he got fired.
There he is.
But something very interesting. I don't know if you're familiar with this. There's a porn company that specializes in doing superhero porn, especially knockoffs of mainstream porn titles. And the creator said something.
If the man is married, if the man is married, I'm gonna allow him to abstain from this question.
Well, no.
Is
this
this
is a
live
question about
action
porn.
or animation?
No, this is live action.
Oh,
but
okay.
the thing he talks about that's very interesting, which I think is relevant to your filmmaking, is he talks about how if you're telling a superhero story, it's all about having fidelity to the world, fidelity to the characters, fidelity to the themes of the heroism. So, have you ever been interested in telling a superhero story or convincing your producers to tell a more superhero-esque story?
To be perfectly honest, and this might be sacrilege on your show, but I am
for it.
a big fan of the superhero.
I
think it contributes to the sort of infantilization of the culture. I'm not a big fan of what the Marvel cinema takeover has done to American cinema.
Well, actually,
neither are we.
Neither are we.
Neither are we. For us, superhero media ended at Endgame. Everything after that's absolute garbage.
Yeah. In a comic context, no problem with it, and certainly like my I have a 3-year-old boy, and Spider-Man is large in our house. I mean, Spider-Man.
Who is his Spider-Man?
What's that?
Who is his Spider-Man? Is it Peter Parker or Miles Morales?
It is. He has them both.
Okay.
And I have a 7-year-old girl, so Gwen is here too.
Yeah. I have an 11-year-old and an 8-year-old, and it's Miles and Gwen all day, every day.
Yeah, dude.
But my Spider-Man is Peter Parker, and I've tried to explain to people that you have to be able to draw in that audience. That's the audience you have to have. People like you and I don't buy comic books anymore because they no longer appeal to our sensibility. Well,
people in our age
I'm making a point.
Are the people who are buying comics?
But they're buying them for our children.
No, they're not. They're buying them for collectors. So the comic book companies.
We'll have this argument when we don't have a guest, Larry. The point that I'm making, is that the audience that comic books are appealing to are no longer people like myself or BC, because they have these fucking higher interest of being pitch meetings, basically.
Yeah.
Well, that's part of their problem. They also want to be young adult novels. But
again, like the collector doesn't factor in, but the fact that my son knows Miles Morales and BC's kid knows Miles Morales and BC's kid knows Gwen and my daughter knows Gwen.
Yeah.
That's the audience that Marvel is still maintaining an ability to capture in alternative media.
Yeah.
That they're failing to capture in their actual comic books.
I will say, even though I have toys of all three all over the house.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
My boy, whenever he sees the three or any combination thereof, he does gravitate to Peter Parker, the red and blue.
Yes.
So that's
that was a marketing. That was a marketing decision made in 1963 or 64 with 4-color comics, and that determining that children were more attracted to those colors than they were the alternative colors that were allowed to be printed on 4-color printing presses back then. Your villains are green and purple, and all your heroes are red or blue or some variation thereof.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is a debate that Church and I often have because I am not a fan of Miles Morales, but I am also a crusty old man who's like, no, Peter Parker, Spider-Man.
Wait a minute. How old are you?
I am 42, which is technically not the oldest person, but I am a
I'm
curmudgeon.
46.
Yeah.
All right. You're headed to crusty. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's just you know, my specific demo, my specific age group falls right into the gap between where corporate focuses because they're looking at that next generation and Church and Larry's. So I'm
Well, I mean, I'm older
basically
than you, remember?
No, that's what I'm saying. That's why I said Church and Larry. You and Church are in a zone. I am right in between the two of you, and I'm saying like mine is the demo that doesn't get served. I'm the one that gets ignored because I don't count.
Ayrton's our baby here.
I am.
But
which is weird to say.
We have taken over an hour of this gentleman's time, so let's.
You were an amazing guest, and we would love to have you back on when your next movie is ready for promotion.
It is coming very soon. I'll let you know when it is. I think we have. Oh gosh, I think we have a horror anthology coming out next month. It's called The Circle of Death. So,
wow,
that sounds amazing.
Where will that be? Where will that be available?
It'll be on DVD in the major box stores, and it'll be streaming everywhere. And if you like blood and the old '80s boobs and all that kind of good stuff,
this is something that the wife.
I
and
love
can
any
watch
boobs.
together.
So
yeah, they're nice, aren't they? Yeah,
Ayrton likes them if they're perky or if you have to roll them up.
Yeah, I roll my own cigarettes, so you know it's same premise.
Okay. That's a hell of an analogy. All right.
Yeah. But thank you so much for coming on. This has been so much fun, and
It's been amazing. It's better than I could have ever expected it to go. Like I literally expected you to pop in and be like, "Oh God, this is what this is," and leave.
And as you say, if you need people to come to the writers' room with bad ideas, we always have bad ideas.
Listen, I really enjoyed sitting in your writers' room there for a minute, and I think if anything crazy comes across my desk, I might tap your brains for your opinion. We'll see what.
You said that some of your best work has just fallen into your lap, so I'm just going to throw this out there. Your current gamut of characters in a battle royale type scenario, and that's where I'm going to leave it.
Like destroy all monsters, but with the
like Hunger Games, but with the clones and Bigfoot and Megalodon.
I will say I don't want to give anything away, but I will say it's very, very interesting that you would say that. Keep that in mind and hang out until October or so and see what happens.
I'll be there, man.
We're cooking up a little.
We will be there with bated breath.
Hey, this was a lot of fun, you guys. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
We look forward to doing it again if you're open to it. Thank you so much for coming on, man.
I'm down, man. Thank you for having me.
Always.
All right, and good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.